Great American panel. He was a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and an advisor to George McGovern's presidential campaign. Fox News contributor Pat Caddell is here. He was a former mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, who currently hosts his own radio program, The Buddy Cianci Show. And he's also the author of Politics and Pasta, two of my favorite things. Vincent Buddy Cianci joins us, and she is the director of the Lawfare Project and the author of Lawfare, The War Against Free Speech. Brooke Goldstein also joins us. Great to see you guys on a Friday night. Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
All right, so we've got a little bit of breaking news happening tonight. The Senate reached a tentative agreement to extend the payroll tax cut, to extend unemployment benefits, both for 2 months, without raising taxes, which is what President Obama wanted to do to pay for all of this. Also, the Republicans have gotten in this bill a demand that the president make a decision on the Keystone Pipeline also within the next 2 months. Pat, your reaction? To me, it sounds like another 2-month Band-Aid.
Just punt the ball for 2 more months, and then we'll have the whole fight again in 2 months. He isn't going to allow the pipeline, so this is ridiculous. This is what they do. It's just been put off so we can have it in the middle of the campaign.
So here we go again, right? Another hair on fire
here.
Situation from Washington.
They couldn't get a budget
and it's
of their
Christmas
lives.
besides.
Yes.
They all wanted to go home.
Nothing says Merry Christmas like another 2 month spending Band-Aid. All right, let's talk about the Iowa debate, which happened on Fox News yesterday. Brooke, your thoughts on winners and losers, or did anybody gain ground?
Well, I think definitely Bachmann gained ground. She was very strong on foreign policy. She articulated the Iranian threat very well. Personally, I was really happy when Santorum was talking about the martyrdom culture in Iran. It's something that I've spent a lot of time raising awareness about. And Newt mentioned how the United Nations was funding indoctrination of children. These are major national security threats that have to be talked about, and I'm glad they got exposure at the debate.
Buddy, your thoughts? I mean, what are you looking for from your vantage point when you watch these Republican candidates? What are you looking for?
Someone who can win, someone who can beat Obama. And I think that came out yesterday when it seemed to be the point and counterpoint was, yeah, Newt Gingrich might be a great debater, but would you rather have a 100% conservative who only gets 40% of the vote or a 75% conservative who gets 51% of the vote? And I think that who won last night, I think Gingrich held his ground. This is the last debate. Debates are all about message. They're all about holding your ground. Romney did well. He's the tennis player who always returns the shot. And he didn't make too many mistakes. The big loser yesterday, in my opinion, was Ron Paul. I think when he started talking about, he sounded like who was that guy who was the prime minister in England? Chamberlain. Was that who it was?
Peace in our time.
Yeah, peace in our time. And don't worry about the Iranians with atomic bombs. That's okay. Everybody has to live, and everybody should have their own atomic bomb. I think he was a big loser. Bachmann surprised me. She's been consistent, and she's a lot better than a lot of people think. And she's from Iowa. I don't know if she's got the ground game. I don't know if she's got the money. But the fact of the matter is she did a lot better than I thought. But I think Gingrich's to lose at this point.
Well,
go ahead, Pat.
Look, let me just say this. First of all, I want to say something about what Brooke said. I was so glad to see them talk about foreign policy because I've been doing polling on it. It's such a gigantic issue, and no one in Washington, the Republican Party, seems to think it matters. And it matters a great deal. And people feel very strongly, particularly about Islamic terrorists and about Iran. I want to say this is a race down to two people. It is about Newt Gingrich and Romney. I thought they both had good debates. Gingrich had a tough moment on the Freddie Mac, and it's hurting. This question is very simple. And by the way, if we're going to discuss Fannie and Freddie, let's discuss the fact that we have a chief of staff in the White House and the head of national security. Both should be in jail over that issue. But anyway, the media should get this. But look, here's the choice Republican voters are struggling with. The first thing is, are they going to go with Romney, and is he Nixon in '68, steady but can win, or is he Dole? And are they going to go with Gingrich, and is he Goldwater, or is it Reagan kind of an election? Let me tell you something. Gingrich's election, the fact that he's in this race, is about the moment right now that this country is out of the box. 69% of the people think it's in decline. This isn't conventional politics the way Washington and the media discuss it.
How can there even be a question that Obama is like so even and ahead when this country has, as you say, what's really 70% of the people think the country is going in the wrong direction. 54% of Americans that own homes think their houses are upside down in value. About 65% of Americans can't come up with $1,000 in an emergency. The unemployment rate hasn't changed much. It's a tick down a little bit. But people are dissatisfied. They don't trust their government. Congress, my God, is gridlocked. So the only people that got supporting them are blood relatives and staffers.
Isn't that the key, Brooke, that this election needs to be framed by the Republicans, because God knows the left-wing media is going to frame it as what kind of candidate the Republicans put up. This is not about the GOP candidate, regardless of who he or she is. This is a referendum on Barack Obama and the abysmal record that Buddy Cianci just articulated here. And the Republicans need to keep the focus on that and pound on it day and night.
And they need to keep the focus on foreign policy. I think everybody on this panel agrees. This is the weak link in the Obama administration. We have Hillary Clinton met with the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation this week, and the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation is not our friend. They're moving towards getting the defamation of religion a crime against humanity. We have, a president who doesn't stand strong against Islamist terrorism. He's purging the word Islam from counterterrorism.
That's right.
Manuals.
He's done the exact opposite. And by the way, the administration just sent John Kerry to deal with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. I got to take a quick break.
Okay.
More with you guys straight up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Sit tight. We continue now with our great American panel. Okay, so a new poll released today, Associated Press, GFK poll, showing that for the first time, a majority of Americans now believe Barack Obama should be voted out of office. 52% say he does not deserve to be reelected. Pat Caddell, you're the big Democratic pollster. This guy's in trouble.
Oh, he's in deep trouble. The CBS poll last week was 41-54 saying he shouldn't be reelected. Look, all the numbers. There's a Harvard poll showing that young people give him a disapproval rating, the very group he won big last time. I am telling you right now, however, the reason that he's in the ballgame is because the Republican Party has no narrative, and nobody seems to understand how to speak to what I keep saying is this pre-revolutionary moment.
But you look at these numbers, only 43% right now, and again, this is very early days, right? Anything could happen, but only 43% say the incumbent president, with all the power behind him of the incumbency in the White House, that deserves a re-election. What does that tell you?
Those are terrible numbers, and I think I can go back to what I said before. The reason why those numbers are so bad is because of the way the condition of the economy is. And I can truly tell you that there's another number that wasn't put on that screen, and that is that people in the majority, 52, 54%, they have a likability factor with Obama. They seem to like him, and they seem to say that maybe, he's a likable guy, but maybe he just is not up to the job. Then when you look at the other candidates, you look at Romney, he looks like the guy, and I'm not trying to be funny, the guy who turned your bank loan down. I mean, Perry, he'd have been great in the silent movies, but then talkies came out. And then in addition to that, you've got a Gingrich who's like your professor. So do these people have the charisma to beat an Obama? Because people vote emotion, and they vote. That's what they vote.
That's
what's
exactly
an emotion?
Right.
Monica,
that's exactly right. So many of us just think that voting, Brooke, is an intellectual act, and it is, but it's also an emotional act. People want to feel good for the person for whom they're voting. And, when you look at the Republican Party right now, traditionally they've always had two big strengths, limited government and strong on national security. All you have to do is take those two simple narratives, put them together because they're interlinked, and sell your message. And yet, none of these guys, there are some exceptions, but they all seem to be kind of a hot mess and not focused on those two strands.
And that's exactly what the poll shows. The poll says right now that regardless of who is the Republican candidate, voters still think that Obama should be voted out of office. And just to go to the last comment, the poll said, and Americans said through the poll, that they have a very good outlook on the economy, and still they disapprove of the way Obama is handling it. So it's not as though if the economy improves, Obama's, chances will improve. The poll showed the exact opposite. The question now is, what is Obama's narrative? He's already blamed Bush. He's blamed Congress. What is he going to say to turn these polls around?
Well, he's going to have to go absolutely negative, right, Pat? But what is that, Pat? Let me just ask you this: what does that do? He's going to have to go scorched earth. What does that do to the Obama brand, which was built on hope?
Well, it means that he cannot govern the country. That's what Doug Schoen and I wrote a piece saying he should step aside. That even if he wins, he can't govern. And let me tell you something. They will make this scorched earth campaign something to behold But by the way, Brooke, I don't think the American people think the economy is good. Not at 20%. They really feel. I mean,
they were optimistic. The poll said that they were optimistic about the economy, and still they felt 60%.
Well, honey,
the change, let me just say that's the only poll I've seen that in.
Change has not come.
But people, the only one I've seen. Let me tell you something.
American people are extremely forgiving, number one, and they vote emotionally in many ways. Emotions are nothing more than affective body states characterized by peculiar body changes. That's what an emotion is.
That sounds vaguely dirty, buddy. I don't know. Go ahead, Pat.
69% of people think this country is in decline, when over 60% believe their children will not live the American dream. I am telling you, it's not simply this issue and that issue. It is framed a large, and he has to be held. He's presiding over a political class that the country, and I lived that campaign.
You did part of it, so you should know. You would
I understand
that whole rodeo.
Okay, but speaking,
well, yeah, but look how far we came.
Speaking of Jimmy Carter, who did not win re-election, once there is
awfully closer than you ever realized.
Yes, I know. But once voters, let me ask you this: once voters form an indelible impression of a president, it sticks with them and is very hard to reverse. Just very quickly, Pat,
but it's a choice. It does come down to, is the other person able to be president? And that's why we should never have debated Reagan. And they're going to say these Republicans are not, but I still think Obama's got a long haul.
Buddy?
Look, it's too early to really tell, but everybody's in the ball game. Anybody can win. I wouldn't count Obama out because of those numbers.
Brooke, quickly.
I think in terms of impressions, Newt left a really good impression. He's still a front runner, and so it's Newt Romney.
We shall see. Couple